we decided that we weren't going to charge anything. I've been a good investor. Have a nice house that's paid off. I decided that you can't take it with you. You know, you might as well share it. So where I can, I share it. Yeah, it started with my wife back in the 80s. My wife, Carol, was actually a graduate student and worked as a social worker. We moved to the Cleveland area, and she actually was first director of a crisis hotline up there. And she did really good with that for a couple of years. But about 2 years into it, she was getting very tired and starting to show symptoms of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And of course, we didn't know what it was. Back in the 80s, it was very difficult to find somebody. We went to over 35 doctors. None of them had a clue. And her primary care doctor decided to put her into a mental hospital.
Okay.
I think it's running now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say hi.
Her typical day is she would be up in the morning, sitting in a chair. And there'd be 3 psychiatrists in a table in front of her, and they would discuss literally, how are you doing and what pills are we going to give you today?
I broke it.
By the time she left 30 days, she was on 13 pills. And that was bizarre. None of them were helping her.
Move it to up.
Unfortunately, there's still so many doctors out there that don't have a clue as what EDS is. So in many cases, it hasn't changed as much from the 80s. When my wife passed away in 2008, my daughter, Deanna, started to research some of the symptoms that she had, my daughter had, and started to discover that she had something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. She was very excited about all the information she was discovering. She printed out a whole lot of information, took it to her primary care doctor, and when she went to the primary care doctor, he kind of dismissed her. He said, Ehlers-Danlos, you don't have that, it's too rare. She had a very difficult time with a couple doctors after that, and it was very difficult for her to get any support and understanding for Ehlers-Danlos. We went to our first conference. At the time it was called EDNF, and we met an individual who I call my mentor. His name's Richard Riemenschneider. And I said, what is it that the EDS community really needs? And he said support groups. They need to have somebody that they can talk to that has a similar condition, because they can't find doctors. They can't find anybody that really understands it. So the people that understand it are the ones that are dealing with it. I was trying to work on a retirement plan. So a combination of that and a retirement plan, I said, this is kind of what I want to do. The good news is when I was working, I was very familiar with IT. I worked in IT, so I'm very familiar with programs that can be used to, WordPress was one of them, that you can set up this information. I need a doctor in Dayton, Ohio, or Cleveland, or something like that. I don't have an answer to that question. So what I typically do, I send them to the local support group. And the support groups typically have lists of local, not only doctors, but other resources that people can use. We've been busy here too. I don't know whether you've been tracking some of the things that we've been doing. Andrea got wind of it, and she is a very good organizer. She set up that support group exactly the way I feel a support group should be run. Well, it's a very complex. And she would get 30 or 40 people showing up for a support group, and it was just marvelous. What we discovered from these support group leaders is they wanted to have education. So we started to do webinars. We went to over 8 conferences, and at the conferences we were not only engaged with the EDS population and the patients, but we also recruited doctors to do webinars for us. Deanna, with her sweet attitude, convinced them to do a webinar for us, and I did the techie stuff and she got them involved. So we did over 125 webinars.
Happy birthday to you. You got to make a wish.
Oh!
Yay!
I did remarry about 8 years ago. Kathleen, a lovely lady, and we we got married. Her husband passed away, and my wife passed away, and we got connected. She's a very sweet person.
And do what?
You're really taking in a lot of juice.
They are.
Yeah.
They're not juicy.
They're not juicy? Mm-hmm. Okay. Unfortunately, about a year ago, her dementia got to a point where we had to put her in a nursing home. You don't think a hug would make you warmer? Well, mine. This is my favorite. She was diagnosed about 3 years ago with dementia, and then it's just constantly progressed. But I'm in a really good nursing home, and they understand her. There's a couple aides that just love her, and she'll go up and she'll hug them and give them a kiss and things like that. Tried to get over and visit her 2 or 3 times a week. That's one of the extra things that I do, and I enjoy doing that. About 25 years ago, I had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Now, 15 years later, discovered that the prostate cancer is still there and it's kind of moving around the body. Last year, I was in the hospital 2 weeks going through treatments for that. Even at my stage right now, I'm still spending 2 or 3 hours a day on the programs. I was spending 8 to 10 hours a day on the programs in the past. It's valuable to our members, and that's what we're trying to do, is serve our members.